two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but we are continuing our month of when pets attack or when animals attack. They've been attacking from all over the place. And, we've had giant rats, small rats. We've had cockfights. You name it, we've had it. So this time we are going over to Tammy because she has brought us one heck of a horror film with animals. So, what movie did you choose for us tonight?
I chose Monkey Shines.
Okay. And it just so happens that this particular film is directed by George A. Romero, which we all know him from his independent horror film, which is a masterclass in its own right, of Night of the Living Dead. And this particular film was filmed in 1998, and it stars, well, it's written by Michael Stewart and George A. Romero, but it stars Jason Begg, or Beggy, John Pankow, Kate McNeil, among many others. And let's see what IMDb says about the film before we go into first impressions. A quadriplegic man has a trained monkey help him with his paralysis until the little monkey begins to develop feelings and rage against its new master. So, I'm going to go over to Tammy and ask her why she chose this movie, and was this a first-time watch for her?
No, it definitely was not a first time watch. I chose it because it totally fit the category, I thought, and it's actually one I haven't watched in a while, but I've always liked it, So by choosing it, it actually prompted me to actually get it for real.
Alrighty. Well, is that pretty much it for your first impression then?
I will say, after watching this movie, though, I kind of look at monkeys a little bit differently now.
So you don't exactly like it when you see monkeys like this hump your leg, like in that episode of The Friends? In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
Let's put it this way. After watching this, I would definitely be less trustworthy.
Hello.
Oh. Hello. So we were just starting to get into first impressions. We just got done with Tammy's. Since you're now in here, what was your first impression of this film, and was it your first time watch?
Well, this was definitely a first watch. I don't think I'd ever heard of this movie until very recently. And first impression, mostly positive. It's an interesting movie. Again, I'm kind of feeling like I'm not sure that I consider this a full-on horror movie. Certainly has horror elements, especially that horrible nurse.
Nurse Ratched over there?
Pretty much. It was an interesting movie. And I'm kind of glad to see, just to have seen. But yeah, I guess that's really about it for a first impression. I don't. It was interesting. Well, I mean, a lot of my commentary as I was watching it. I had some commentary there, and we'll get to a couple things as we go. I definitely found it while I was watching the beginning, the cast and credits. Like I didn't realize it was a George Romero film. But I also did not know. I had no idea some of the people involved. And I mean, we've done a couple Tom Savini films, so I have a certain type of movie I've come to associate him with. And so, Romero, I'm like, okay. But then I saw Stephen Root and Stanley Tucci, and I'm like, okay, Stephen Root, I can see that. It's interesting. Stanley Tucci, I thought he did classy shit. And it was interesting seeing Tucci with hair. They were both a lot younger in this one. But anyway, it was good. It was an interesting way to finish off the month.
Okay. Is that pretty much it then?
Yeah.
Okay. Heading over to you, Brandon. Was this the first time for you? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say also, I don't know. It wasn't a pervasive. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I'm coughing all of a sudden. It wasn't an all the time thing, but I feel like the main character reminded me a lot of like a knockoff Bill Pullman. I don't know why, but just I kept having that thought every now and then.
Okay.
But
alrighty.
Just a quick thing. I thought this one actually kind of really fit because this isn't the only like genetically altered movie of this month. You know, because
that's been a regular theme. That's been a regular theme.
Yeah, we had the sheep, we had the the man's best friend,
Right.
and now so it's like
Even Food of the Gods had sort of like, it wasn't genetic tampering in the same sense, but it was still creatures being messed with. Really, Willard is the only one that didn't really do that.
And then involved a strange relationship with a very unusually intelligent animal. So.
Right.
So
yeah, it kind of seems like the theme that I came up with ended up being kind of more or less genetically altered animals.
Right. And it's also interesting that I was trying to think what John Pankow, what I remembered him from, because I remembered we'd recently done a movie with him. He's the one that did Jeffrey in this. Apparently, the exact same year that this came out is the year that Talk Radio came out. So that was another one that we'd seen him in not too long ago. So.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we did cover that in June, didn't we?
Yep.
Yes, we did.
Huh.
Heading over to you, Brandon. What were your thoughts on this? And was this a first-time watch for you?
Oh, no. This is like third or fourth. I remember watching this a while ago. Actually, probably not long after it came out. Probably as soon as it hit like HBO. And which would probably be in like 89, 90, sometime in that era. And I'll admit, it did kind of freak me out when I was younger. Like I say, when I was a little kid, I was not. I was a lightweight when it came to horror films, and I thought it freaked. I mean, I thought it was creepy when you had this. Like, I had this, and there was a lot of these animal movies that bothered me as a kid. Like this, I talked about Project X when I was. I think the last time we talked about one of these, and it just definitely hit me. And I remembered especially the end part where the monkey's feeding him the pellets, and it was one that I had searched out because I was so much. You know how it is. You watch something when you're younger and you're not quite sure what it is, and then you're searching out things from your youth to try and check them out again to see, I guess, kind of confirm what you really saw back then. That's, I guess, one of the reasons why I want to get hardware eventually, because I remember seeing the commercials for it, but never getting to watch the movie. This one, I remember getting it when they Shout Factory did a release on Blu-ray for it, and I was like, "Oh heck yeah! I've wanted to see this movie again since the late '80s," and it did not disappoint. Actually, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know I've watched it at least twice since then, and then once for here. It's just to me, it has that slow build. I'd say it's almost more of a thriller than a horror movie, but definitely has those types of vibes to it, especially towards the end. It kind of, matter of fact, it and Willard, this and Willard have a lot of similarities to each other, where it kind of builds that it builds to murder. This one builds a little bit quicker, but still. And that ending was definitely intense. I think the ending of this one was much more intense than the ending of Willard, and very much so. It deserves all of its love here. So I'm glad that we got to cover it. It is a fun movie.
Okay. And as far as my first impressions, I saw this on TV a long time ago, and then I think I'm actually the one that I'm pretty sure I'm the one that showed her this movie, which made her like it so much.
No.
I thought it was.
No.
Well,
not long before you.
Well, when I pulled it out and we watched it like 14 or 13 years ago, you acted like you hadn't seen it before, so.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it in a long time. But no, I saw it long before you.
Whatever. Well, I liked it, and at the time, and I ended up picking it up on DVD. I had no idea that Shout Factory had actually put out a Blu-ray of this, so I'll have to maybe hunt down a copy eventually. But I think for like one of these monkeys, because oftentimes when you see these kind of monkeys, you actually kind of want one of those monkeys in your house.
Oh God, this thing's dangerous.
Not anymore.
Well, these are the kind of monkeys that are supposed to be friendly, intelligent. Oh, yeah. You're supposed to be able to put a little bellhop uniform on them and slap cymbals and dance for people, you know.
There are scenes where this monkey is actually pretty cute. Like, yes. There are scenes where it's creepy and scary, but she also is cute at times. And yeah, I could see how you would get both feelings from watching the movie.
Well,
yeah, it is cute in a lot of times, but then you see the other side, and it's like, hell no, you ain't coming to my house.
You've seen this type of monkey in Indiana Jones and stuff like that. So, except you don't want to have bad dates around them, you know. So, but in any case, I thought this was interesting because you have a situation where a man who is in a lot of serious pain because of a serious accident, and you know you're kind of rooting for him at first, you know. So, but yeah, it's entertaining, and I think this is one that definitely it needs to be talked about from time to time because see, I disagree with you, Jake. I believe that this is a horror movie, and I mean the way in which the guy cannot like move anything, that's horrifying. First off, the fact that those monkeys are being kept in cages and getting shot full of this stuff, that's horrifying. But we'll get into all that. So, Tammy, did you want to bring us into the plot line? This is your movie.
Well, the basic plot line is oh, I forgot his name now.
The main character.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
I believe that would be Alan Mann.
Alan, yeah. Alan, when we start out, we see Alan is definitely very much in shape. You know, he's, you know,
I mean, you definitely see side boob action from his girl, and you definitely see his buttocks as he's exercising.
but yeah, he's definitely in shape. And then he has this tragic accident where he goes from, being totally being in shape, looking great, everything, can do everything, to now there's nothing he can do. He can't do anything but move his head. And
he went for a dangerous quadruple pirouette while running, and that's a tricky move to pull off.
I'm not sure I would have exactly been running in the middle of the road where cars are actually going like.
Didn't he run into the road to get away from something?
a dog.
Yeah.
There was a dog
Silly
that jumped
dogs.
out, and there was a dog that jumped out and was barking at him. He reacted and ended up in the road, and that's how he got hit.
So, little known fact, this is apparently a spinoff of Man's Best Friend.
Oh, really?
No, I was just joking.
I was just gonna say, no wonder I picked both of them, but anyways, yes. He has this tragic accident, and then his best friend, I believe we said, was Jeffrey, works at a lab.
Right.
And he's genetically
he's taken the abnormal brain and figured out a solution of some sort to stick in these monkeys with a syringe and supposedly make them more intelligent.
correct. And at first he is not thinking about using one of his monkeys until he comes across the lady who's actually training monkeys that have not been altered at all, but she trains them to basically be instead of what we are normally used to with with a dog, the dogs that are trained to help people.
A service animal, yeah.
Service animals, yeah. So you're normally used to seeing
Basically
dogs.
a therapy animal.
Well, we skipped ahead a few chapters here, but basically, we've got this guy who's now quadriplegic after surviving a nasty surgery, and the hotshot doctor is taking all the credit for saving his life, while also clearly macking on his soon-to-be ex-girlfriend.
It's not just macking; it's a total, full-on blown affair.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's also pretty clear that this kid's mother. I commented in the credits that this was kind of, or in the commentary, that this was. It's almost like Willard, but in that you have this overbearing mother and this son who's chafing at all the, but the situation.
Kind of glad that she was Miss Moneybags and the whole thing to help him out with all of this electronical equipment.
Yeah, he was working to get out from under because he was working to be a lawyer, but unfortunately for him, I don't know why, but the accident is almost comical. I don't know about y'all, but I know it's wrong, but I laughed when I saw it.
Well, I mean, again, that weird pirouette they had him do, like, oh, geez,
it was just so overacted.
Yeah,
it was comical to me, and I feel wrong for finding it so, but
it is interesting how we have the reversal in that here he is the invalid, and the mother insists on taking care of him. Whereas in Willard, the mother was an invalid who was basically chaining her son to her. In a sense, yeah.
It is interesting that all of these movies, even Willard, which I know is pointed as the odd man out here, really though, all of them seem to have a connection of some sort. It's kind of funny in that way, because they do all connect to each other a little bit thematically.
Well, I mean, we have a theme for the month, so it only makes sense.
Yeah, I know, but it is funny to see that they actually do connect very closely together, even beyond the theme, because we could have had some very loosely related films. But yeah, this was. But yeah, this mother theme, is definitely out there because both cases the mother's overbearing. It's just, as you said, they're switching who's doing the caregiving.
Yeah.
In this one, she does. We briefly mentioned the nurse. She takes it upon herself to hire a nurse to take care of him. And this woman
exactly filter whoever was going to take care of him as a nurse.
Yeah, she could have done some better vetting, that's for sure. Because I was about to say, this nurse is, let's just say, saying she has no bedside manner is probably one of the kindest things you could say.
Yeah, she's just strictly there to do her job, and that is
just a ray of sunshine.
Well, I mean, that's debatable. I mean, she's obviously lazy. I mean, well, here again, a thing with Willard. Willard's mother was always making fun of, well, not making fun, but haranguing him for not doing the housework and the yard work. And here he keeps taking her to task for she doesn't want to do any housework. She also brings in her bird against his objections. And later we end up seeing there's a very good reason why a bird might not be a good thing to have loose in the house. But she will hear none of it.
Even when I had my...
What's that?
Oh, I said even when I had my parakeets, because those were my first pets that I have ever had on my own. I had a blue parakeet that I named Casper. And later on, eventually, I had another one that I named Jasmine. And neither one of them I would have had out of their cage unless under my supervision, because one was friendly and one wasn't. So.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I like how they nickname Nurse Ratchet, and it just seems appropriate.
I actually think Ratchet was arguably a better nurse than this nurse.
This nurse didn't want to do any work.
Yeah,
Ratchet at least took her job seriously.
Ratchet was all business. She may have had no heart and no compassion, which made her a terrible nurse. But when it came to the job, she was all business. Like, I would take her over this nurse any day.
Okay, so I guess we've already gotten to the point where we established that overbearing mommy gets this um nurse that's
Welcome home, Cardi. First off, and of course, uh,
Yeah.
girlfriend is trying to pack her bags and get going.
Now, all the drama with the girlfriend and the doctor aside, this still was not as painful as a welcoming party as we got in Willard. Uh, this party wasn't nearly that painful, but it still was pretty awkward.
yeah.
Oh yeah, at least in here you had people who were not like fighting over food around and acting like that person who had died or who they were selling for actually gave a shit. So, but
Yeah. Some of them actually did give a shit. Like we briefly saw our Alan, I believe we briefly see like his track coach, and like he's actually really upset. And there are a couple people who are, but not everyone. The doctor. Right away. We're introduced to the doctor. What's his name again? Wiseman, the Stanley Tucci character. We're introduced to him as he's going into surgery, and it's obvious from the start he's a prick. He's cocky. He makes inappropriate jokes. And then, we come to find out he's been boffing the girlfriend while Alan is still recovering from the surgery. She, meanwhile, is getting ready to pack her bags. She's real upset that Jeffrey isn't there, but it's, I guess she thought he would cushion the blow when she left, maybe.
I actually thought Jeffrey was actually going to be the one like taking her away from the party or whatnot and getting her the heck out of there, so that maybe she could eventually go later and menage a trois with Mr. Wiseman.
Well, you gotta wonder whether she decided basically there was a I don't know. There is a it's hard to say whether I would consider it wrong for her leaving him or not. It's wrong at a base level. Like, if you truly love this person, you wouldn't just up and leave them if they're quadriplegic. But at the same time, it's also understandable that they would be going through that sort of phase. Yeah. And in a way, a lot of time has passed, supposedly, between the accident and this. Though the way they present it is it's almost like as soon as the accident happened or even beforehand, she was already, doing things with the doctor and planning on leaving him. So it's kind of...
I don't know if
the abruptness of the leaving or the feeling of how abrupt the leaving is really, in my opinion, the issue more than anything.
I didn't really feel that there was any inclination or evidence that she'd been carrying on with this doctor before the accident. I just got the feeling that he was the kind of cocksure prick who would move in quickly for the kill. And it's obvious that whatever her feelings before the accident were not strong enough to last after. And I do think that while it is understandable, while I think it's understandable that she wasn't willing to stick around, and while I think it's actually a good thing that she didn't try to force the issue, the way she left was almost the worst possible way to do
it. It was
the timing.
The timing, the circumstances, everything. It was a cold, bitchy move for her to wait till he gets out of the hospital, try to dump him, apparently trying to involve his best friend as a cover or a smokescreen or something in order to go hook up with his doctor, and just that everything she did wrong, no matter how understandable the reasonings may be.
I mean, yeah, she came across as very shallow.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how they wanted the movie wanted us to see her, as very shallow, because she was with this guy who is smart. He's extremely fit and well muscled, and all of the great things. And as soon as he doesn't meet those, all those boxes, she finds another one that's in that prospect. So it made her come across as very shallow. Which, in a lot of ways, I mean, I can also understand why somebody might have conflict over it, but that's fair, but not quite in the way that it was presented, because the way they presented it is basically like, yeah, she's very shallow. As soon as he didn't meet all of her boxes, oh, let's dump him for somebody else. But much like Willard, I don't think that everybody is 100% as they seem on the outset. Like, the mother is overbearing, but the mother is overbearing but caring in her own way. I don't think the mother is doing it out of malice.
Place.
Whereas in Willard, I felt like there was almost a maliciousness to the mother. I mean, the best friend meant well, but he really wasn't much of he acted more on impulse than anything else. Nurse Ratched was, well, okay, no, she really didn't have redeeming factors.
No, she did not.
No,
But
I didn't see
even
any.
Ella wasn't necessarily a bad character as far as the monkey goes. It's just that she was also a victim of circumstance.
I forgot what the lady said, that she shortened her name to Ella, but she had this big long thing, and then she said, "But we just call her Ella."
Well, I know that Joffrey, he called he called the monkey number 6, and I know he mentioned number 6 before she explained like the name of the monkey, but she said she's been referring to it as Ella for short.
So yes, we basically established that there's a nurse that's kind of undesirable to have around, but I mean, she seems to do her nursing part of the job. It's just trying to get her to do anything else is,
Yep, that was
or
Marianne Hodges.
or to even have a decent attitude, is like, but so
Yeah.
Jeffrey is the best friend. He decides that he wants to get more help for his friend and goes to see this lady that trains monkeys.
Melanie Parker.
Yes, to go to be like I'm gonna be like another aid to people in Alan's situation.
Well, yeah, she appears to have a farm where like she's actually got a lot of caged monkeys herself that she takes care of, and all of them are therapy monkeys that are all loaned out to people already, and she's not sure about like the time that she has to help train a new monkey and all that jazz.
But clearly, all of her monkeys are they're not unhappy, and they're not being poked and prodded and given whatever was in that syringe, you know?
Well, I mean, it's like therapy animals, you know. I mean, it is therapy animals. It's exactly that because it's like therapy dogs. Same thing, same level of training, same ideas. It's just using monkeys instead of dogs or cats or whatever
And
they're using.
you're right. The monkey's a little bit more versatile to where, because the monkeys almost kind of like have hands and things like we do. So they're able to do
Right.
things that a dog can't. A dog has paws, and a dog can't open this and can't, you know, to take a top off of something or some of the intricate things that the monkey was trained to do that there's no way a dog could have done it, but because the monkey being able to kind of, they kind of have somewhat human features,
And keep in mind, monkeys like this are not good pets. They're extremely dangerous animals.
And
They do go off, and you can read about these like stories about monkeys that go off on their owners and they even kill them. Even the small ones like this, it's you got to be very careful. I mean, shoot, what was that movie? Nope, where you had the chimpanzee that went off and just started killing everybody.
Right.
So they really are not, for real. They really can turn on people.
Yeah, they're not good pets because they can turn on you, and because they have that extra force, they can become quite violent. Now there are other things. I mean, a house cat could turn on you and do some damage, but these things have the ability and the smarts to do a lot more damage.
Right.
It's just they take a lot of. If you want to have one of these as a pet, you really have to dedicate a lot of time and effort to them.
Yeah.
well, at
I
least
think
they
generally,
And you don't want to have them going through the same type of treatments as the lawnmower man here, going into like
Yeah.
psychic, like human
yeah.
brain like activities.
at least they didn't do like they did in Faces of Horror to the monkey that they did in there.
Well, this is something that we alluded to, I think, when we were talking about Willard,
Faces of
and
Death.
that is that people tend far too often, way too often, people tend to just almost entirely discount what it actually means to have a pet. It's not something you do just on a whim. And it goes the same thing with service animals, maybe even more so because they're so highly trained. If you don't just do it on a whim, there are consequences to the action. Now, of course, in this case, yeah, with the worthless lump of a nurse that they had, having a service monkey seemed like a great idea. And the movie certainly hints that the genetic tampering was a big part of the reason why it turned into a bad idea. But yeah, it was definitely a risky move, no matter what.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Famous last words.
But I mean, in truth, the therapy monkeys probably would have been a good thing. Again, if it was a regular one instead of a other, because again, it's all about that. But then again, if he hadn't been put through such trauma with Ella, and the weird genetic bonding thing that they had going on, then he wouldn't have managed to be cured of his paralysis. So,
Well, it seems like, at the beginning, Ella is everything that he could possibly ask for, hope for help, and he seems very eager to do whatever for him, and you have to wonder if the stuff that Jeffrey gave her is making her this smart, or was she really smart enough to do a lot of the stuff she did on her own? Because she definitely had surprising things to Alan that she could do. She knew, like, for the phone, which when he told her to do the phone and call Jeffrey,
Right.
and she didn't. She just sat there because she knew that was Jeffrey right in front of her. So why are you gonna call him?
I
I mean,
would I would argue that in and of itself was not necessarily like this is way beyond the pale of what one could expect. Because, I mean, ordinary cats and dogs and monkeys can recognize people and do recognize people. And I do believe that they recognize them by name. But I don't think it would normally happen this quickly. I think when it was mostly the speed at which she picked things up that was just crazy.
Well, she was genetically enhanced.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I still think that she might have. Yes, I agree with you that she probably recognized Jeffrey, but for her to put two and two together, that yeah, I recognize him. That's Jeffrey, and then to actually think about it. Well, so why would I call him? He's right there. You know, that was the part that I was getting at. That she was,
That was kind of cool.
that she was smart enough to do that.
She's smarter than the average monkey.
That's when of course, we got to remember why why Jeffrey ended up doing what he did when it came to stashing Ella. I mean, the dean of the college, he is a person who prefers to get his kicks on butchering animals.
Yeah.
Which I'll admit is even worse than the experimenting part. And he's looking at this, and he can tell he's eyeing his his experiments. So he is like, well, I got to place her off campus, or else he's gonna be slicing her up.
He's kind of like one of the ones that's also supplying the funding for his experiments too. So
well, he's the head of the department. So
well, head of the department, but also the one that supplies him the granting money for what he's doing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As head of the department, he probably controls and funnels any funds that come to the department, or at the very least, he has some say so on it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I just gotta say, this was Stephen Root's character, Dean Burbage, or whatever his name is. And anytime you see Stephen Root, with the rare exceptions of, say, a Bill Dauterive or the staple guy from Office Space, 9 times out of which, incidentally, both Mike Judge in movies. 9 times out of 10, if you see Stephen Root, you know he is not to be trusted. And he definitely, this is one of his nastier characters I think I've ever seen. He makes the nurse look almost pleasant. He makes the doctor look quite pleasant. I mean, all 3 of them were terrible people, but
well, as it was, he was trying to drown Socrates.
Yes, and I was getting ready to say, I can imagine. We keep talking about Willard, but the way he was treating that poor rodent, I can only imagine that Ben would have had gone to work on him.
Indeed. Indeed, indeed.
Okay, so well, let's see. We've established that the nurse was terrible. Ella is good. Now the nurse's bird. She was told more than once to get rid of the bird.
Bogey, I believe his name was.
I want
Yeah,
my bird.
Bogey, because it was after, yeah, named after Bogart.
I want my bird.
Well, it's because he supposedly sounded like Bogart when he spoke.
You're right.
And keep in mind that the reason why a lot of this extra was set up was because he had actually tried to kill himself, which is understandable when you think about it.
Right.
I mean, this dude had everything, and now he has nothing.
Right.
That's a rough thing. I mean, you're on top of the world, and then you're at the bottom of it, and you can't see the way out.
Right. It's one thing to slowly over time as you get older and things change and your abilities change and everything. Compared to all of a sudden, boom, that's it. You can't do anything for yourself at all anymore.
Right. It would be rough, no doubt about it. And especially again, like with his mother means well, but you get the strong impression that she's never really been there.
And she's never going to cut those apron strings whatso freaking ever.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, she's never really been there as a mother. Like, she thinks the world of her son, but it's clear that she has spent most of her time working, and now she desperately wants to,
like
be
I said,
here.
I don't blame the mother for doing what she did because
No.
she only, in her mind, she's only trying to do what she feels is right, and she feels inordinately guilty for not being there,
Right.
and she really wants to help. So I can't really blame the mother for being overbearing.
Who was
It's
it?
just it's just how she.
Who was it that told her she needed to back off? Because someone did. And honestly, it is.
I think it was Dr. Wiseman.
Yeah, I think it was the doctor that told her that.
Okay, which actually may have been one of the better bits of advice he gave in the movie.
Which you didn't follow.
Right. But I mean, she really, again, you gotta, in that sort of situation, if you're continually hovering around and trying to be helpful, there's only so much help you can give that will be appreciated,
If you've ever lived in a family that actually is like at each other's throats most of the time they're around each other, probably not a very helpful situation to be overly helpful with.
And I know what it's like if you've got like a loved one that's close to you and you're worried what's going to happen to them.
Right.
You just automatically become that much more afraid to do anything, afraid to leave that loved one, afraid to even go for a long period. And she lived like a long ways away.
Yeah.
And even feel guilty, like, well, if I leave and something happens, that's my fault. And I can say from personal experience, that's exactly how you feel. You feel like if I leave and he kills himself, I'm the one who did it. I might as well pull the trigger.
Right.
And it's a hard thing. So again, I did not, when I first saw this movie, and even when I secondly saw this movie, I looked at the mother just like she was presented, just overbearing, and it's understandable why he got angry, and the anger came to the surface and out. But I look at it now, and I can understand where she's coming from. So
Right.
I feel she's much more of a sympathetic character than I had originally thought of her to be.
Right. And like I said, she certainly has my sympathy. It's just she definitely was coming on way too strong. And it is a tricky balance,
Yeah.
It really is a tricky balance. But yeah, it was
Find a better nurse.
well, that's a big part of it. She should have vetted that nurse or vetted a nurse much better than she did. That was a failing, but
That nurse was burnt the hell out.
oh yeah. See, she should have held out for Daphne Moon, someone like that, But
Yeah, that might have worked.
What's up?
I said that might have worked. Daphne Moon.
Yeah.
Shoot, one of the nurses on the night shift nurses. That would have been good.
Right. Oh man. But yeah, we had something else I was going to say and I've totally forgotten. Whatever.
But I mean, part of the reason why, one of the first things you see is these connections with her, and he's having more and more of these angry outbursts.
Yeah.
Which you see a few of them just because he's trying to cope, but these seem out of the ordinary for him. And then with this bird coming in and trying to peck out his eyes, and he can't do anything about it. And I don't know about y'all, but I still find that scene disturbing.
That was and y'all know I don't like I like eyes the way they're supposed to be, perfectly whole. And anything to do with damaging eyes, plucking them out, that is one of my big no things. So yeah, that scene was pretty horrifying.
Yeah, one of the things that will make me cringe in like a horror movie is if they do something with the eyes.
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
Now I will say I remembered what I was going to say. It's just throwaway thing, but like we were talking about the bird and where it got its name and everything. I will say this: I've never had any real interest in having a talking bird, a parrot, or a minor bird, or whatever. But if I had a bird who sounded like Sam Spade and narrated everything like a Raymond Chandler novel, that would actually be pretty hilarious. I think I would want that.
Sam Spade. I could see having David Spade's voice.
David Spade bird.
That would be a very different. But yes.
This bird can't find a home. We don't know why.
You get him a buddy. It sounds like Chris Farley. He's always going on about his van down by the river.
Yeah, though I could see, I could see a Pauly Shore bird. Where it's just like, buddy, buddy.
Yeah, for better or for worse, I can visualize that.
But the idea behind it is that, of course, you can see the psychic connection at work, where his anger and fear at this bird activates Ella's protective nature. And at first it shows basically the monkey being mischievous and leaving a banana peel in her slipper. Like any type of pet that would be kind of peeved at you would do something like that. Or worse.
Isn't it Melanie? Isn't it Melanie who says that the monkey is mostly housebroken?
Yes.
But you might occasionally step in something.
Yes.
Well, monkeys like to be a little bit jokesterish.
Yeah.
Play pranks.
But, and this time they had the parakeet and her slipper after it snapped its neck.
Yes, that mischievous monkey.
Well, and in a way, I can understand where it was because she, of course, didn't
Oh, yeah.
care whether the thing had actually done anything. She was a little bit, you could tell she was ruffled by
Yeah.
it. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to get in trouble for this. But still, it's one that definitely showed why he did not want that bird in there.
Yeah. It was, that scene definitely gives a very good reason of why, because he's defenseless. He can't protect himself.
For the most part, parakeets are very mild tempered.
For the most part, but it also depends on the species, and some of them are known for having an ill temperament. This one, I think, not so much. But
all I know is when I worked at the pet store,
mhm.
we had a cage that had a bunch of them in it. Okay,
Mhm.
and there was one that he was a fat little parakeet. I mean, he would sit in the bowl of food. And there was more than one bowl of food, but he would sit in the one and just sit there. And the other ones would be squawking at him. Well, we came in one morning and I guess they showed him how much they did not like him sitting there and eating all the food because they killed him. I was totally surprised. I was like, I could not. I've always thought parakeets were so nice and gentle and everything, and come to work the one morning.
Well,
Like,
how would you like it if all your food was eaten by one fucking bird?
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to it, especially in like a pet store setting, like it's one thing if you're talking like actual pets in a home with people that care about them. But in a pet store, I mean, I worked in a fish store for years, and we did make efforts not to mix things poorly. But there's only so much you can do to avoid that in a pet store. And you will occasionally find creatures that would normally get along when they're under duress. They will act out. And definitely anything in a cage that doesn't know when its next meal is coming is going to be much more aggressive when it comes to food.
well, the thing that surprised me too is I had never seen a fat parakeet, and this sucker was.
Right.
He was fat, and I'm like, damn, what? We were all joking about it too, like, how did how was he like that, and all the rest of them are the way they're supposed to be.
Maybe he watched too many episodes of Batman and he wanted to be the Penguin.
I don't know. I think the reason he sat in the food dish all the time is he probably couldn't fly around like that.
Probably. Yeah.
At least y'all didn't put a bunch of betas and male betas in a small aquarium together.
Yeah, you gotta kill us. Oh man, that whole War and Peace thing just pissed me off. I was so pissed about that fad. Ugh, stupid. But it was a fad. All it was. But anyway. But yeah, that was one of our common questions. Y'all got any killers?
Well, in any case, but yeah, this one of the things that's interesting about the Thai that they have is that she'll run around and she'll get out of the house at night, and when he's asleep, he'll be able to see from her eyes and feel her experiences as she's running. And this in a way, it just feels good for him because he's able to be free and be out. But there's also a disturbing angle,
right?
And on top of that, he's developing a relationship with the animal trainer, as it goes.
And someone said something earlier. I think it was you, Brandon. You mentioning that like the bird kind of helped unlock her rage through him,
with
like
the doctor, the girlfriend,
protective things. But There was also a sense of possessiveness and protectiveness that was very obvious early on that Ella was showing where Melanie was concerned. Because it was obvious that Melanie kind of had the hots for Alan and that he had the hots for her. And they clicked really quickly. And you could tell Ella very quickly started becoming possessive and standoffish toward Melanie.
Well, yeah, Ella definitely growled at her.
Yeah.
Right. She was. I think she became, jealous.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, she actually, when Melanie, when she put her hand on his, Ella actually took her hand right the heck off, and she was like, "Did you do that, or did he, or did she do that?"
Here, random bit of info. Are the mother, Joyce Van Patten, is the younger sister of Dick Van Patten. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I thought she looked kind of familiar. Huh. But anyway, imagine what this movie would have been like with Mel Brooks at the helm.
Well, I mean, this has a very similar progression style to Willard. There are a lot of similarities if you think about it, because it starts small and it builds up to where the monkey does more and more, till eventually the monkey actually goes in and sets fire to the place with the doctor and his former girlfriend.
And they all kind of brush it off like, well, animals are afraid of fire, right? She wouldn't be setting a fire because that would not be normal.
Yeah, and her lighting the match to Ella does not fare well for her later.
Right.
Well, she tries to show that Ella was afraid of the fire, but Ella was smart enough to react the way she was supposed to react. Like she was afraid.
Right.
Like, oh my God, it's fire. I gotta get away. Yeah. That's right.
Well, yeah, because if she didn't react to it, then
one of my favorite lines in here was done by Joffrey. It was when he was making the serum. Double toils and trouble. Fire burns and something bubbles.
Basically quoting Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Although maybe paraphrasing.
I mean, of course, he discovered, and another reason why he did Ella, because he knows the other guy was the dean was looking through his office and trying to get and he finds out that the doctor had taken all of his serums from him. He also finds out that Ella has started to connect that, yes, those serums do make her smarter. So whereas at first she was upset when she would get the shots, then she was basically telling him, yeah, give it to me. Hit me.
Right. That turned you into a little junkie, didn't I, or something like that? Oh, this says this was the first film role for Stephen Root. Yeah, okay.
Well, then, Jeffrey is doing his own little concoction on himself, too, which keeps him up. He said that if he's up for 3 days in a row, that's it ends up being another 122 days of the year. Yeah. So if he dies at 50, he will have actually lived to 65.
Yeah.
Then I know he had all this whole math equation stuff. It was just like.
I saw it's one of the few quotes they have on IMDb. He's like, that's one of the advantages of working in a chem lab. I finally figured it out, Alan. Every 3 days that I stay awake, I gain 24 hours. It's 122 days every year. So even if I die at 50, I will have lived 65 years. And yeah, it's an interesting thought, but think of how much of that you would be exhausted.
Well, or if anything, the basic madness you'd be experiencing and going through it.
Hey, I get tired enough working my couple days in a row of third shift,
I mean, when I was going through my caffeine addiction in like grad school, where I was only sleeping an average of 1 to 2 hours a night, I was not very well in the head. And there's a reason why I don't remember my years in grad school.
Right.
It was a lot. And I'll admit, I would never do that again. I'm sure that I'm still feeling the repercussions of that. Sleep is important.
Yes.
Yes.
George A. Romero's first studio film.
That's if you can get it.
But of course, Ella, I mean, the other thing is there's a similarity, of course, from Man's Best Friend, where they take Ella they take, the dog, and you can tell that both Ella and the dog are both extremely upset to be separated from their, bonded person.
Yes, when when Jeffrey took Ella back to go run tests on her because Alan was realizing the things, that she brought out the anger in him, and then he was realizing when he was sleeping the connection they were having, like you said before, that he could see her running around and everything, like see like through her eyes what she was doing. And when Jeffrey took her, she she was fighting as hard as she could not to go. And yeah, it's and you could tell she basically, I believe, she blamed Alan, I think, for her being taken away.
And one of the other reasons why that he was mad with the doctor and led to the fire is because when he went to get a second opinion on it, because he felt like he moved something, the doctor had said, well, this guy always feels like he's the best out of it, so he wouldn't have second guessed his own opinion.
He may have moved, and everyone said, no, you imagined it. So he went to
so he may have just written you off when in fact there might have been something else he could have done. And so they says basically, you got to give me another sign, but if you do show me something like another basic movement or something like that,
be a finger, could be a toe.
Well, he said, I am pretty sure. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I'm pretty sure your movement was accidental because you weren't expecting it. If you can prove conscious movement, then I'll operate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why he was also mad with the doctor, because the doctor was like, yep, that's it. That's the only thing. I'm done. No other way of looking at it. You're paralyzed for life.
The second basically made it sound like that the accident was not actually the reason that he was paralyzed.
He said that there was sort of, it sounded like there was sort of like a genetic or congenital defect, that the accident was what triggered it, basically.
Yeah.
But it's a common enough thing that spinal injuries are tied to serious accidents. It's not so much that Wiseman arrogantly is stopped because he had an easy answer, as it is that he arrogantly assumed that there wasn't a different answer. I guess. That might be
still arrogance at the end of the day.
It's pretty close. Like he's obviously not Dr. House, who obviously always sees that the easy answer is never the correct one.
But I just wanted to say that because it does bear in towards the end of the story.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ella escapes from the lab after freeing all the other monkeys and kind of sicking them on Jeffrey, who doesn't die there.
He ends up coming to the house, and basically he comes there to pretty much put Ella down.
Yeah.
And then Ella ends up putting him down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I love his digression too, because he when he as he digresses after he's been stuck with the darn thing, he's like, I put enough stuff in there to pretty much put out the dinosaurs.
Now, he said enough to bring down Kong, I think he said.
Yeah.
Like, you know
Makes you wonder why. But
you know me, I'll always go over the top or something like that.
yeah. I will say this. If I had to, the movie's certainly not perfect. If I had to pick a flaw that kind of actually irked me, I actually was kind of irked that Burbage didn't get it at any point. I know he wasn't central to the plot, but he was an asshole. So I was kind of disappointed there, but
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Should have had him sneak back into the lab or something.
right. Now, I mean, we don't know for
As the
sure.
sequel, he could have been turned into a vampire and not. Yeah.
I was going to say, we don't know for sure that the monkeys didn't find him and do something to him, but maybe it was one of the scenes that Romero had to leave on the cutting room floor. I don't know. And this is based on a book. Does anyone know how different this is from the book?
No.
No.
Nope, nada. I am reminded of a Stephen King short story in Skeleton. Not Skeleton, something like
Right.
I can't remember the book name, but
Skeleton Crew.
yes, where you have this toy monkey with the symbols, and every time the toy monkey would bash the symbols together, somebody would die. Something always reminds me of those two together. Maybe it's the cover, because they use one of those toy monkeys as the cover for these things.
Yeah, I remember that one. But anyways, yes. So Jeffrey shows up at the house and realizes that Ella has killed Mommy Dearest by electrocution. And that she is most likely there to kill Alan. So Jeffrey is trying to track her down with that.
Well, real quick, I think we probably should talk about the last interaction between Alan and his mother, because he is pleading with her. He knows at this point what's going on with the monkey. He is pleading with her for her own protection to listen to what he's saying, and she just gladly writes it off as he's gone crazy. And it's just, and again, a lot of people in this movie are just unwilling to think outside the box. If she had just listened to him, she might have survived. But yeah,
this movie has a high kill count, really.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, obviously some parts of him work anyway because of his night out with the girl trainer.
Yeah. IMDb mentions this is one of the few movies, one of the only movies with a sex scene involving a quadriplegic. Now I'm trying to remember if John, what's his name? John Hawks. Why did I have trouble with that? There was that movie he did called The Sessions, and I can't remember if he was quadriplegic or paraplegic in that one. I think quadra. But that was an interesting movie.
But I feel like I think he was quadriplegic, but I can't remember 100%.
Right.
What was there was a a book that I swear my dad told me about something in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye.
The Catcher in the Rye. Wasn't that one where there was a quadriplegic in it? Trying to remember.
It's been so long since I read that. I honestly don't remember much about it.
Okay, so I guess we're getting to the nitty gritty where the chase is on, and Ella ends up outsmarting Jeffrey, and Jeffrey gets the poisoned shot that was meant for her, and then she does go after Alan, and yeah. that this ending is just like really, yeah.
It's interesting because Ella learned how to turn the power off when they kept trying to turn the breaker box on after they discovered the mother was electrocuted. Well, they didn't discover. Well, there was how they discovered it. So she ended up turning the power breakers off when he tried to escape, so he couldn't activate the door with his, because he has all these like sensors, voice sensors that come on.
Oh yeah, voice commands. Yeah, he got the door open, and then she shut the power off, and there goes that.
And then of course when the girl comes in, Ella ends up. Actually, that's a hole in the plot that maybe one of y'all can answer, because he tries to convince her to turn the power back on so that they can listen to music together. Ends up not working, but then after the girl gets knocked out, and she's getting ready to try and stick her with that other syringe, he manages to still turn the music on.
Well, yeah, which ultimately ends up being the reason why he gets the surgery later on.
Did she turn the power back on? Because I thought that they couldn't play it because the power was off, and that was the reason why he was trying to get her to turn it back on. It was the excuse he was trying to get her to do it with.
Well, he was having trouble playing it because he was having trouble getting to it. But yeah, I think I know what you mean.
She would try to put the tape in, and it wouldn't work because
she loaded it up.
Power on.
Yeah, because the power wasn't on.
It's Melanie who comes in and turns the power on. Because she flips the
Melanie turned the power on. Okay,
the power is back on.
Gotcha. So that's where it was. Because then he got her basically. He managed to somehow force himself to move enough to get the tape on, and that got her interested in basically coming up there and getting close to him.
Yeah.
And then he was able to brutally kill her.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it is quite brutal. That's why I was like, how do I say this? It was
probably something like what those birds did to that other bird. I mean, it was yeah, that was rough. I was watching that. I was like, damn. For one, he was showing a remarkable amount of even if you're basically immobile, I would imagine you would need some degree of muscle control to be able to move your neck around that violently.
Guess it goes to like maybe he was able to move those things after all.
Right. But yeah, that was a rough way for that monkey to go.
well, yeah, the way he was shaking her around and stuff, it was like she was a little rag doll.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a part of me that felt bad for Ella. Yeah, sure, she killed a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it really wasn't her fault. It was the fault of those that kind of put her in that position.
It was Jeffrey's. It was
Well,
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey definitely died for the whole thing.
Well, yeah, and he straight up admitted that he was experimenting, and that's when dude was like, "You've been experimenting on me this entire time," and he's like, "Well, no. At first, I was trying to help. Well, you told me the monkey was normal."
But because he was able to move at that one
No,
time,
I meant to say normal.
they did do the surgery because he was
Yeah.
able to move that one time to do it, and then it shows the scene of him being able to walk on crutches and hugging the girl he now hooked up with. And the end, happy ending. Da da da. Well, happy-ish ending with everybody else in his life being dead, but
Right.
I never liked them much anyway.
So I guess we have reached the end. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add about this movie before we go into production and everything else?
I don't think I said it earlier. I will say, like, when they were first showing the scenes of Ella wandering and we were seeing through, like, the monkey eye view, I will be honest, I don't know if y'all had the same viewing on your first viewing of this movie. It was not immediately apparent to me that Alan was seeing through her eyes. Like that, I got it eventually, but definitely the first one, maybe two times, that didn't even occur to me. So I'm just curious if anyone else had that thought, or if they all like it's obvious.
Either. At first, I thought they were just showing what she was seeing.
Well, I think the first time the monkey went out and about, I don't think he was as telekinetically bonded with the monkey, but then the second time.
I think you were supposed to be kind of confused because he was confused. So I think you were supposed to actually have that slight confusion and figure it out like he did.
That makes sense.
I feel the same way. It's just you didn't really connect it that way at first, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else have anything before we go into the production?
No, not right offhand.
So, what is everybody's thoughts on production? I mean, I thought that for the time that it came out, that they did pretty good. I know that there was stuff listed at the beginning, I believe, of the movie as to the animals that were used.
Yeah,
And-
they talked about some sort of study at, what was it, Boston University or something?
right. And so I thought that was very, very good to put that in there, that these animals, were not hurt or anything, that these were trained, and that everything like that. So yeah, I tend to like a lot of movies that are, I guess I call them for real. They don't have all the CGI stuff in them and all that and everything. They're just for real.
Practical effects.
If anything, the apparent animal abuse that some would say in a movie like this, I feel like what we saw last week in Food of the Gods was much worse than what I really saw in this one, as far as that goes. And I want
to I saw in this one was really that poor rat.
Yeah, I want to mention as well. And Brandon, like in our, and by the way, folks at home, check out the Versus Awards. But you were talking about how low budget films force creativity. Like I said briefly earlier, this was supposedly George A. Romero's first studio film, which he did in conjunction with Orion Pictures. Romero was famous for stretching a budget. Like he knew how to take what he had and make something with it. And I feel like the movie looks quite well made. But one could say by the standards of the time, but just generally speaking, it's not a cheap looking film. It's a good looking film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what the actual budget for this was, but I feel like it probably, his background in low budget films probably did help with this one. Yeah.
Anybody else have any thoughts on the production?
I would say it's really good because it is I mean, you had a lot of work with the monkey training, but you also had a lot of cool stuff with those little gadgets in the house. Even though some of them probably were real stuff, but a lot of the stuff that they came up with, or the technology they were using, was pretty cool. And nothing looked super fake in this to me. And that's pretty impressive when you get a film at this age. Well, maybe not at this age, because 88 is still there, but still, if it's lower budget, it's impressive that it did not look fake. That it actually did seem to. I mean, I didn't feel at any time taken out of the immersion.
The budget was estimation of $7 million.
Right. So it wasn't really a low budget film, but like I said, it was from a director who had a long history in low budget films. Apparently, the movie didn't even make back its budget.
And
Nope, it grossed worldwide 5,344,577.
this is one of those that's more of a cult classic that would come that would make back money slowly through the home video market.
I would have to say because Shout Factory had put it out on a Blu-ray, it has more of a viewage and making money back than the IMDb page says now.
Apparently, the movie did do really well at the Sitges Catalonian International Film Festival. For whatever that would mean. It definitely did have a few awards.
I think the production was pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it. It's definitely a film that I do remember for the symbiotic bond between man and ape, type situation. And Ella's pretty cute in the very beginning. So
Monkey.
I mean, I've always wondered what it would be like to have that kind of monkey around as a companion.
I'm not sure I'd want that kind of monkey around.
Well, I'm not saying that particular monkey per se with the same genetics that Jeffrey put into it, but a somewhat baby symbiotic animal, yeah. But I mean, Darwin wouldn't have been able to do his species book without having love of monkeys as he seemed to have, and to show the world that we are very similar to monkeys in general, So, but in any case, yeah, I really liked the way that they put this movie together. I mean, for the most part, it was a one location setup. I mean, there were other areas that they took them to, like the college and the farm where Melanie was from. But for the most part, and the hospitals somewhat, but that's outside. Most of it happened inside his house. So, but in any case, I'm not sure I would have loved my mother scrubbing me while I was naked. So,
well, he didn't like it so much either. He was pretty like, this is awkward.
Yep. So, that being said, suppose we could go into music.
It had music, I'm sure.
Right. I honestly didn't really notice it all that much. I think it was effective and forgettable.
It's one of the.
Well, David Shire was the one behind the score, or the composer for this, and he was behind Zodiac, Short Circuit, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the original.
Actually, Short Circuit had a fairly memorable sound.
We should make one exception to that, and that is that for whatever reason, Ella has an obsession with Peggy Lee, and we already mentioned how that actually became important to the plot.
Yeah.
So there is an important element of the Peggy Lee songs that are used. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh yeah. So, Tammy, what did you think of the music?
I think it basically went with it. I'm not. I don't know. It didn't nothing really jumped out at me about it. I don't know.
I thought it was cute that Ella actually danced and whatnot to the music.
Yeah, that part was cute.
Other than that, I guess we'll go into favorite scenes and to favorite characters, hey?
I guess so.
So, who wants to go first?
Well, I mean, I like Ella as one of my favorite characters, though I like Jeffrey too. As far as scenes, I guess that scene towards the end where Ella's like, "Yeah, I'm in charge," and she's feeding him the pellets. That stuck with me as a child. Still sticks with me as an adult. I just gotta go with that.
Okay. What about you, Jake?
I guess if favorite character, I probably gotta go with Melanie. I actually like Alan as a protagonist, and I like Jeffrey, and I do like Ella. But I think overall, if I had to pick one, Melanie would probably rise to the top.
So Ella's not the girl for you?
Not quite, no. I did feel that we had a trio in Dean Burbage, Dr. Wiseman, and Marianne, the nurse, and we could add Linda, arguably, as good you love to hate them characters. But as far as favorite scenes, I'm not positive on that. But maybe the scene where the nurse wakes up and puts her foot in the slippers and the bird's in her slipper, I think I was definitely, especially given that whole eye pecking scene before, that bird needed to go. And so I liked that scene. So I guess we'll go with that.
Okay. Heading over to you, Tammy. What are your thoughts? What favorite scenes and or favorite character?
Yep.
Are you there, Tammy? I don't know if you guys can hear anything.
Nope.
I hear nothing.
But in any case, myself, I guess I going to have to go with favorite characters being Ella. I do like Melanie, and I do think her sex scene is definitely a little different. Because she's holding on to those bars and she's riding them. Um, and of course, all her monkeys are like acting up because they hear the sex sounds and all that jazz. I guess that would be one of my favorite scenes. Besides, I think I definitely enjoyed the bird death, but I also enjoyed the arson of the um, girlfriend and the Mr. Allen to begin with. So I guess I was kind of rooting for the monkey for a bit, but I didn't entirely enjoy the anger that Allen was presenting. So, but as far as favorite scenes go, I think some of those are my favorites. Tammy, are you here yet? Are you there? Because we can't hear you. Alrighty, I guess at the end of the day, this is where we it's been an entertaining film to discuss. Hopefully you have enjoyed our discussion. Like, share, and subscribe. And let's go around and tell the audience a little bit about ourselves and what we do. So, Jake, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm Kotobukijake. I am the co-host of SeptumSin versus the World, where, as I said before, our yearly Versus Awards premiered tonight. So check that out. See what we thought about the films of 23. We also had an anime discussion last week on Lupin the Third, Green versus Red. So that's kind of a fun thing. I keep pretty busy most of the time. I wish there was more time in the day, and if Jeffrey's methodology worked and I could gain more time by just staying up, I would certainly do it. But I am, as the man says, I'm getting too old for that shit. But it's I did have a very, very eventful and busy weekend involving going the last 2 weekends, really going on field trips with the Virginia Native Plant Society. Also, this weekend was the Richmond Folk Festival, so I got to see some good concerts, and so that was a lot of fun. Luckily, the rain held off for the times for us. Definitely my wish and my positive wishes go out to all those people who were not so fortunate with the rains in the past few days. Hope things turn out well enough for them, at least the majority, because I know it didn't for everyone. And then, of course, just keep busy, 40-hour week. Try to make time, though, to watch stuff, to, if nothing else, to join these folks once a week for our movie discussions. And this has been an interesting theme for the month. I've enjoyed. This actually was a movie that I had low expectations for, and I was pleasantly surprised. So it's good times.
Well, oh, there she is. Oh, never mind. Well, I'm SeptumSin of SeptumSin versus the world. We like physical media on our channel. We do our best to try and talk about that. Our big thing this time around is the Versus Awards. Tonight is always a special night of the year. This is my father's birthday. He would have been in his 70s if he were alive today. We always use that date to run the awards. Of course, though the live show is over, you can, of course, go back in and watch the whole thing. It is a massive undertaking, but award shows are because of all of the categories. A lot of surprises there, a lot of cool wins, and a lot of cool acceptance speeches. So, check it out. We tried our best to make it entertaining, and Lord knows we put a lot into it. Also, this week, debuting, I want to say this Friday, our new series, Tabletop Horror, which is a series where me and Jake go through all the movies based on tabletop and LARPing RPGs. From, I guess, chronologically, from beginning to modern times. Season 1 of that is starting this Friday. Finally, after all this time of us working on it and having finished it, we are making its debut this Friday. So that's something to look forward to on the channel. And of course, if Schlockaholics comes back online, we've been kind of sputtering on and off, but keep an eye on that channel. It may come on again. The lights may come up and down, but when they do shine, they shine brightly. And Dave, you can get back with me at the end, and we'll talk about what's coming up next month.
Sure thing. Tammy, your favorite character and or favorite scenes, and then tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Had some technical difficulty, I guess. My favorite character. My favorite scene. Well, I guess Ella really is my favorite character. Even though I have like mixed feelings and emotions about monkeys now, but I guess she really is my favorite character. Favorite scene? I guess I'd have to say the one that I was talking about before, when Ellen tells her to call Jeffrey, and then she looks right at Jeffrey, and she's holding the little thing that she's supposed to put in the phone to make the phone call, and Ellen realizes that what's going on is that she sees Jeffrey there, so she's not gonna, why are we calling him? That she was smart enough to put that together. I don't know. I just thought
But
that was
not smart enough to realize that Jeffrey just went outside the door.
Well, yeah, because she didn't see him anymore. Then it was okay, But and then I go on this channel and another one with David and talk about movies with everybody, and I have my own collection, and well, unfortunately the nice weather is winding down, which means the car shows basically are too. Otherwise, that's been my summer. So
Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us on this season of movie discussions. So, but my name is David Struggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So, thank you for coming along with us on this fantabulous journey we've been having. And we have finally finished the month of when animals attack, or when pets attack, or whatever we had it set up as. But I do moonlight on a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where also we go on from time to time on various films. I do think this Sunday, around 12:30 a.m. Central, we will be discussing Disney's The Three Musketeers, starring Oliver Platt, and I think you're one of your favorite actresses, Tammy. Trying to remember her name.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Rebecca De Mornay, yes. So.
Oh, and it's 12:30 p.m., honey. You don't want people coming on at midnight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, I'm a little tired. We started late, but in any case, I also do some video pickups and some video reviews from time to time. So definitely check out the channel. And eventually, once I get this edit done of my third and final segment that is missing from your Versus Awards, thanks to a couple of technicalities and some energy revival, at least on my part, I will be putting that up on my channel this week, so that you can view the events and what happens to our good friend Mr. Wayne. So definitely look forward to that. I had the pleasure of doing a small little fan thing, so it'll be my pleasure once I finally get it out there to have the audience see my version of me in every role that you could probably think of for the DC world. But in any case, hopefully you'll enjoy it just as much as I put it together. So in any case, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of the film, what you thought of our discussion. Is there anything that you can tell us about the movie that we'll be doing next week, Septum?
Well, next month is spooky season.
Ooh.
As we get ready for Halloween. So we've chosen a bunch of age-appropriate, well, not age-appropriate, season-appropriate films for the season.
How dare you do age-appropriate films?
So going down to the end of the month, Jacob is going to round us off at the end with 10 Cloverfield Lane as we continue the Cloverfield trilogy. I can't wait till he does Cloverfield Paradox. That was such a bad movie. But 10 Cloverfield Lane was such a good movie, so it's kind of hard to, go in. Then Tammy is going to help us get into the comedic spirit by doing Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Then Dave is going to round us out with a little bit of foreign horror action with Killer Condom. And then finally, next week, I'm going to take us back to the 80s with the WNUF Halloween special. Such a fun film.
Never seen it.
So I think it'll be entertaining, especially if you've watched any TV specials in the 80s or early 90s. And I think most of us here have at least watched them in the 90s, if not earlier. So I think it's going to be fun. So with that being said, I guess it's the end of early fall, and we're getting right into Halloween. So see you all next week.
Say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.